YouTube? Welcome back to Scents of South Jersey with me, Kellen, for another fragrance review. Today I got something special for you guys. I got something very rare, very vintage, and very discontinued. So we're going to be taking a look at a piece of fragrance history here, classic masculine men's fragrance history. If you are a fan of the 1978 release from the House of Ralph Lauren, Polo for Men, or better known as Polo Green, one of the greatest green masculine fragrances ever created, then you're going to love this fragrance. This is a very, very rare, unknown sort of blip in fragrance history. Like I mentioned, a sport flanker to the original Polo. For men, this is Polo Sport Splash. So you can see what the box looks like real quick. As usual, I'm going to treat it like a normal review. We'll go over the fragrance presentation. I'll take a look at its notes, sort of, and then I'll go over its performance and give it my thoughts and then a rating. And I'll discuss, what the background on this one is and, what I've found about it as far as research goes. So without any further ado, let's get started on this. But make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and check out the Scents of South Jersey Instagram page if you have an Instagram. Let's get started. Okay, so presentation for Polo Sport Splash. Let's take a look at the box. I have two different versions here for you, three actually, but of this type. So here you can see one's a little bit lighter and it says Polo Ralph Lauren there. And at the bottom here, this one just says, what does that say? Polo Sport Splash. And this one also says the same thing with the 473 milliliters. And this one is 1 pint, same size, obviously. The boxes are very old. You can see what it looks like on the back here. This one has a sticker with the brand information. This one just kind of has it set there. And then on the bottom, you have what looks like a sort of a batch code, packaging and bottle, Ralph Lauren. And this is Warner. So this is before Cosmar, or a division of Cosmar. This is also Warner as well. And these are not for individual sale. They both say that on there. So, and they have the, the whole scenario scene of the Polo rider. You can see there, kind of going around. And then this one, a little bit different, Polo rider here. So that's interesting. Now, if you look at the bottle, take a look at, this was the first one that I got. It's this huge, what looks like a whiskey decanter bottle, and a really awesome detailed etched in Polo rider right there. And on the bottom here, you can see Polo, and what this says is a sporting splash, Warner, not for individual sale. Now, taking a look at this one, same size, you can see, look at the difference in the Pony Rider. This does look like a geometry, like Geo Metro one, where this one is much more detailed. And the bottles are a little bit different. This one is a little bit taller. This one's a little bit like fatter and thicker. And on the bottom there, it does say pretty much the same thing. This one's gold cap does come off the actual plastic one, whereas this one is stayed on. Now, when you unscrew these, it's just a huge open container. There's no stopper there, I noticed that. And that's the same with this bottle. There is no stopper. Now, another version of the Polo Sport Splash presentation is a small plastic bottle. They smell pretty much the same. And this one says Warner and Cosmar on it. I have, however, decanted it in here so I can actually spray it and get a little bit of an easier, less messy use. All right, so the notes for Polo Sport Splash, they're not really listed anywhere, and obviously I'm not going to list the notes for Polo for Men, but what you get is the green pine and the oak moss. It doesn't have that heavy tobacco mixture in there, but it's definitely green, fir, coniferous, that type of, forest green, but lighter and fresher than the original one, but still very masculine and still very green and still very much Polo for Men. So I don't really have a note breakdown. I'm just going to go off of, the typical stuff: fir, fresh green notes, pine, oak moss, and this is legitimate oak moss in here too. All right, so the performance for Polo Sporting Splash or Sport Splash, it's okay. You know what I mean? I think it's meant for active use. So I'm getting about 3 to 4 hours. I've worn it consistently the past couple weeks, especially this week, heavily going to work. Splashed it on, sprayed it on. That really didn't make a difference. I would say I'm getting about 3 to 4 hours. It does project heavy, I've noticed, in the first hour, and then it's very, very light after that. But if you love Polo but think it's too heavy, this is going to be something that would be awesome fine for you, because the performance is not monstrous at all, and I don't think it's meant to be that way. It's probably at the level of like an aftershave, but like a stronger aftershave since it's vintage. So again, 3 to 4 hours, projecting strong for the first hour. All right, so my overall thoughts on Polo Sporting Splash. So this, again, is an extremely rare, extremely masculine, just awesome fragrance. I really like that it's a lighter, fresher version of the original Polo for Men or Polo Green. It still maintains that vintage Polo smell, the classic masculine feel of the green notes and the oak moss. but it's just a little bit lighter. It's like an eau de cologne version of the eau de toilette or a body splash. I think it's a little bit more potent than, say, an aftershave. It's lasting a little bit, but it's like what they call as a body splash, and that's probably why it came in such a big bottle. Now, the interesting part about it is, and it's my scent of the day, I used it as an aftershave, and it's really good because it pairs really nicely with a lot of the other Polo body line stuff like a daily shampoo and also the Polo for Men aftershave balm, which for me with a thick beard is necessary. And it goes really well. It doesn't overpower the Sporting Splash, so you're still going to get the aroma of this. And those products will just kind of enhance the performance a little bit. And if you want more of the Polo Green smell, you could use, say, like the body spray or maybe a bar of soap or something along those lines if you want the traditional Polo smell mixed in with this one. And again, it's essentially the same thing, just a lighter, fresher version and not as heavy, especially with the tobacco. The tobacco is not in there at all. Now, it says not for individual sale on the bottle. So that means, from what I read on base notes, there was one guy that had a little blip about it, that it was a promotional item. So what that means to me is that at some point, Ralph Lauren, maybe if you bought a certain number of things, you were gifted this as a complimentary product for spending X amount of dollars, or who knows, because back when this was around, obviously you couldn't order anything online. It didn't exist. So you either were calling in or in a store. So I would imagine, or maybe they just had it as decoration and they made a bunch of them, very short production run. So it's really cool. But why they didn't do a sports scent? Because Polo, they have a Polo Sport, but it's a completely different fragrance. It doesn't take the original and freshen it up a little bit, make it a little bit lighter. And that's what this did. So I guess they do have it, but they didn't mass produce it. So you look at some other sport fragrances like Sport de Paco Rabanne or Lacoste Eau de Sport, or even more rare is Koros or Eau de Sport. All great fragrances. Similar thing, like the production run on these, from what I understand, wasn't that long, but at least they came out with one and mass produced it for individual sale, whereas here they did not, and I wonder why. Maybe these were, but not the big bottles. But it's awesome to get these, and this is where you have to look on eBay, and I was able to find them. McBag, if you're interested in getting a sample of this, he has it. You can check that out. But you know, where would I wear this? Any time of year, doesn't matter. I think this is that active country club. You're at the fitness center, you keep that there. If you have your own locker where you can come back and forth, you don't have to take it home with you. Otherwise, you decant it because it's very fresh. If you want that clean green, masculine vibe that Polo for Men has, but something lighter, something that you can wear anywhere. It's office safe because, again, it's not going to be overbearing in the performance, and that's what I think it was meant to do, much like the other sport flankers I just showed. And that's what makes it awesome. I think, again, 30 years and up will probably appreciate it more, but if you're a younger guy and you love the scent of original Polo, then this stuff is awesome. So again, I got one on eBay, and actually both on eBay, excuse me. One I made a bargain with because the guy had it about 80% full, and I've used about 3 of these so far, and I've been splashing it on too, and I use it as an aftershave today, and it's great for that. But I love how it's all seasoned, and I also love that again, it's just an easy reach when you want Polo, but you want the vintage and you want the real green notes, but you don't want anything too heavy, and that's what makes this an all-year scent for me. You know, again, work safe, and they don't have, and it pairs well with all the body line flankers. But when you look at the Polo Sport one, that scent, that's a blue, completely different thing. You know, I know it's a 90s scent, so it's not like a blue scent of today, but still, I've never really had experience with it. But this stuff is awesome, and I'm really happy to have it. And it's such a piece of fragrance history, Ralph Lauren fragrance history, which I love. So if you can definitely check it out, make sure to get your hands on one of these while they still exist. Okay, so if I were going to give Polo Sport Splash a rating, you know, and I know it's difficult to find and not everyone's going to go out and actually buy it, but I will give it a rating. So first we'll look at the presentation again. Again, you can see the box and then the bottle. I really like both of them. I really like the bottle. I love the detail on the bottle, even on the other one as well too, where it's not as detailed, the horse. The one thing I do not like though is how there's no stopper here. A true splash stopper in there would be great because this is sort of messy because no matter what, it's going to spill. And I've noticed that a lot of it does kind of go out in your hand and then it spill into the sink, but that's probably, again, why it's in such a large bottle. So overall, for the presentation, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. As far as the performance goes, this fragrance, again, it's not a huge performer. I don't think it was meant to be a huge performer. Again, it's a refreshing splash that you keep at the fitness center, you bring with you to work, you bring it to the country club after you're done an active activity, or you put it on beforehand, and then you get that 3.5-4 hour range. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10 for the performance, but that's why I decant it so it's easier to bring with you and you can reapply, because reapplying this is awesome. That's what I do like about that. It's again a fresher version of the original, which is going to give the performance only around 4 hours max. So 4 out of 10 for performance. And the scent, absolutely love the scent. I love original Polo for Men, so if you like that, you're gonna love this scent. Again, it's slightly fresher, removing the tobacco. You still get the green notes, just not as heavy, and it's lighter. It can be worn any year, so any time of the year. So overall, for the scent, 9 out of 10 for Polo Sport Splash, which is gonna give the overall rating for the fragrance as a whole a 7 out of 10. All right, guys, that'll wrap it up for me. That's my review of Polo Sport Splash by Ralph Lauren. So I would love to hear from you guys. Have you ever heard of this fragrance? Do you own it? Have you ever tried it? What do you think about it? Why don't you think it was mass produced? Where was the disconnect between the consumers and Ralph Lauren on this particular fragrance, or coming out with a Polo Green Sport Flanker? So I would love to hear from you guys in the comment section. You know, I always appreciate all of the interaction. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me today, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care.